Hi, my name is Rita Amarichinda. I welcome you to IP series where we talk about recent IP cases and development globally, from copyright, trademark, plant varieties, trade secrets, patent, industrial design, and geographical indication. If this is your first time tuning in, please subscribe and favorite my podcast so you don't miss any episode. You can also listen to it on other platforms like Spotify, Breaker, Google and Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Overcast. If you have always been a listener, thank you for listening and tuning in, and I welcome you to today's topic. Currently in Nigeria, there's a protest ongoing tagged hashtag end SARS, hashtag end police brutality, hashtag SARS must go, hashtag end bad governance in Nigeria, hashtag SARS must end now, hashtag no to SWAT, hashtag Buhari must go, hashtag Port Harcourt protest, hashtag Soros so care, no date. This guys, I really like that one. So it just got me thinking, like, what are the intellectual property rights that actually exist in a protest in this digital age where reproduction and dissemination of information is just at the click of a button. So I'm doing this podcast today just to talk about the relevant intellectual property rights that exist in the digital age. As we know, IP interfaces with every industry and sector out there. However, what is the relationship between intellectual property and human rights or our constitutional right, especially with regards to the hashtag NSAS protest that has been ongoing for the past week now? And it got me thinking, what are those intellectual property that I feel actually exist? What are the rights that exist? So I'm talking about IP in the digital age, fair use, fair dealing, the relevant intellectual property, what's the way forward, do's and don'ts, etc., etc. I mean, while recording this or prior to recording, I already did my hashtag ends SARS tweet. So don't forget to tweet your hashtag and SARS. A brief summary of the end SARS hashtag end SARS movement. This started as a result of police brutality that has been going on for years. However, a particular unit known as the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, aka SARS, have been robbing, attacking, killing, and harassing Nigerian youth, young men, young women, with there's no regard for gender or profession. So even lawyers are affected, doctors are affected, everyone is affected, and everyone is labeled a Yahoo boy or whatever they deem it fit. And their way of profiling people is, for instance, you own an iPhone, you're tagged a Yahoo boy. You own a laptop, you're carrying a laptop bag, you're driving a car, they consider to be too flashy, you're carrying dreads on your hair, you have a tattoo, you have piercing. All of those things just, makes you stand out, and they just tag you, your profile, your name, label you as a bad person and go ahead to harass you, extort money from you. Sometimes people don't come out of this, they arrest you, they torture you, they do a lot of barbaric things, and at the end of the day, nothing, the government does nothing. But what happened um last week, the protest became a reality when on the 3rd of October, a post by an African official too made a tweet stating that SARS had shot a young man dead in Ughelli, Delta State. Um, and that was just the trigger for the end SARS protest that has been spreading across the country. Now, a lot of posts, pictures, videos have been shared online, and even phone numbers of some SARS officials or officers were shared online, which begs the question, what are the legal implications of this? Are there existing intellectual property rights in the tweets, in the pictures, videos shared online? What are the consequences for sharing someone's number online without letting them know. We know basically the IP interfaces everything. So these are the things I'm going to be talking about in this episode. First order of the day, what are the relevant intellectual property rights that exist in a protest, especially in this digital era? So first off, you have copyright, you have trademark, you have performance rights or related rights or neighboring rights as it is called, you have the rights of publicity, you have image rights, you have right to privacy, which falls under data protection. So those are the things I'm talking about. In this podcast. First off, we already know that copyright protects um, literary and artistic works that exist in a fixed medium. What makes it eligible for copyright protection is that, in as much as a work, a creative work, or a content is created, and upon that creation, it automatically enjoys protection, you must show proof of sufficient effort in creating that work, and it must be in a fixed medium, since IP doesn't protect it. So you can't come and say hashtag SARS NSARS was my idea. We need to see what the finished product is. I hope that makes perfect sense now. So short phrases, titles, um logos, ideas do not enjoy protection as a copyright work. Now, Section 6 talks about exclusive right accorded to literary copyright owners, which includes as follows. They have the right to reproduce the work in any material form, to publish the work, to perform the work in public, to produce, reproduce the work, or publish any translation, make any cinematograph, film, or record in respect of the work, distribute it to the public for commercial purpose, um, by way of rental, lease, hire, loan, or similar arrangement. They have the right to broadcast or communicate the work to the public by a loudspeaker or any other similar device, make an adaptation, translate it. And as we know, during this NSAS protest, we've seen pictures go up, pictures that went viral, starting with the Aisha's picture, Reno's picture, the girl with the clutches, like various pictures, videos, people live streaming, etc. So those people are the copyright owners. They are the original owners of the work, because copyright vests in the original author. The first person that makes the work is who owns the copyright. Then you have for cinematograph works like films, short films, um, Section 6, Sub 1, Paragraph C provides that they have the right to make a copy of the film. They also have the right to cause the film to be seen in public. So far, it consists of visual images and sounds. So I know I've seen tweets where people have said, oh, scriptwriters and filmmakers should take advantage of this and start documenting it. And these are the rights that they get to have when they eventually do all of those things. They also have the right to make any record embodying the recording on in any part of the soundtrack associated with the film by utilizing such soundtrack. Now this has to do with sync licensing, music sync licensing. I know I've talked about it in my last podcast, and you can check it out. They also have the right to distribute the film to the public for commercial purpose. So if, let's say, in the next 2-3 years someone decides to shoot do a documentary showcasing how the NSAS protest started and things that transpired, these are the rights that these filmmakers will own. They also have other related rights that will be affiliated to the film itself, but I'm digressing. So also, Section 7 also deals with exclusive rights in relation to sound recording. Now, I saw a tweet by at It's a Day, where he helped a young kid in Bariga, by the Twitter handle at Fiki Official, produce a song titled Enters. Now, that video went viral because the The boy was actually singing or rapping in Yoruba, and it went viral. And someone said, "Get me, if you have the details of this person, send to me. I was going to do a free recording for him." And that's what happened. And yesterday or 2 days ago, the song was released to the public. And he also said, I think I did check out his tweet. I went to his page and I saw where he said whatever proceeds that come from it will be given to Fiki Official. He also has a YouTube channel. So, and I think one of the things that this NSAS protest has shown is that Nigerian youth are actually very good people. They are willing to, go the extra mile or length just to help someone. And we've seen that happen over the last few days. Now, an official tweet said he will produce the song. I already stated that he will produce the song for free, which he has done. And I believe it now begs the question, was there a contract to that effect stating that I recorded this song for Fiki for free? He owes me nothing. Every royalty goes to him. Blah, 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 blah. We know that we already know that the entertainment industry in Nigeria has been marred by breach of contract cases over the last 3 to 4 years. We have the likes of the Kiss Daniel case and other artists as well. Now, on issue of authorship and ownership that may arise under the law, Section 10 sub 1 of the Copyright Act states that ownership lies with the person who creates the work. So the Bariga Kids owns the work. However, there are instances where he may not be regarded as the owner. One, if it was done in the course of employment, or it was a commissioned work, and in this case, it was none of the above. Now, sub 3 of that same section states that where a literary work like a book, a poem, artistic work like graphic work, artworks, pictures, musical works like at Fiki's official song, and other music produced while in the absence of any agreement, it belongs to the first owner. So all of these contents that have been shared online, when you want to determine who the author or owner is, you have the law says you own it. Whoever shares it or creates it own it. But is now these other exceptions that will not determine who actually owns the work in question. With regards to cinematograph, film, and sound recording, the author shall be mandated to conclude prior to the making of the work. In this instance, let's use at is Ade and Fiki Official. They have to have concluded before they even created the NSAS song. There has to be a contract in writing with all the right terms stated, whose work is to be used in the making of the work. So in essence, they need to get IP clearance and also determine chain of title. Now, with regards to musical works, copyright exists in the song and the recording separately. So you will need to license two sets of rights, that is the song rights and the recording rights. Now, on to the second type of IP that is relevant to protest in the digital age, trademark. Trademark, as we know, is a source identifier which takes the form of a word, short phrase, a logo, symbol, number, and other non-traditional distinctive mark. The basic thing about trademark is that it has to be distinctive in nature. It must not cause confusion amongst the consumers. These are basically the functionalities of a trademark. Where this is missing, then there's going to be a problem, like an infringement, a dispute, etc., etc. And during this protest, we've seen that a group called at Feminist Coalition, with the handle at feminist_co, has been at the forefront of fighting injustice through fundraising in order to help sustain peaceful protests and ensure the safety of Nigerian youth while exercising their constitutional right They've also made sure that they provided food, water, mask, medical aid, security, information and legal aid for protesters. Now, prior to this, they had other agenda, and the person that was spearheading the NSAS movement was at Shegalin. He has done an incredible job. I'll give him that. But within the last, like, since this protest started, the feminist underscore co had done a good job, especially with regards to accountability and raising funds to make sure that um, protesters are not left hanging, because we've seen instances where people were shot at. We've lost people have died in the course of this protest. People have been in prison, so they've been really working hard, despite the brouhaha that have been going on social media. And the fund that was raised to tackle the NSAS protest is still currently ongoing. People are still donating things. I mean, it just it's amazing to see how Nigerian youth can just come together with no form of division. There's nothing like um there's no tribalism, there's no denomination fight. Everybody's just one Nigeria, the one Nigeria that we've always heard of or we've been dreaming of. Is actually being showcased during this protest. So how can brands take advantage of this in positioning themselves, especially after dealing and still dealing with a pandemic? um in this case now, there is no lockdown, but people are out there. How can brands show support? Because with the Black Lives Movement, we saw a lot of cancel culture where brands that did not support or speak out um, on the Black Lives Matter movement were, blacklisted. Now, first of all, as a brand, you need to develop a trademark strategy. um, don't focus on just branding, but be strategic and be distinctive about what you're doing. um, the likes of Paystack and other brands came through for um, the protesters during this period, especially when feminist underscore co started receiving funds. They were the first people. Paystack and then Piggyverse were among the first people who, reached out and decided to use their platform to receive the fund until CBN decided to, bring politics into the whole thing and had to shut down or restrict funds from going into their accounts, and they had to look for an alternative, opting for digital currency, Bitcoin. And that's another talk for another day. But yeah, you also have to identify your most valuable trademark. Now, using Paystack and Piggyverse, they are like fintech companies are trying to make um, access to funds or money, give their consumers reasons why it's better to use them than to use your traditional bank. And they've come, I mean, a lot of people came out this time to say, oh, now who follow us protest go do XYZ. In this case, now bank will follow us protest, now we go bank with all those things. And then it's also like an indirect way of a cancel culture. Brands should also have long-term goals and diversify. So in the next 5 to 10 years, where do I see myself? So in the course of this protest, um because of this protest, two Nigerians, owner of um, Paystack, recently sold their company for $200 million, and one of the founders had a dreadlock, and that day was like, I mean, things went really viral. People started making comments like, imagine if SARS had wasted this boy. I know I did see a tweet, I don't know how true that is, where someone said um, one of the founders had his neighbors call the cops, that's the police, on him, that he was always working on his laptop, XYZ. And this is one of the things that the SARS officials actually do, using profiling people. You're with a laptop bag, you have dreads, already a Yahoo boy. And you can imagine that in the midst of this, it went ahead to show that these are youths that are actually working. They have dreams, valid dreams and goals at the end of the day. So that's like a plus. When you own an IP, the long term goal is to find a way to commercialize and exploit it. You can sell like Paystack, or go into a merger, or go into a partnership. You can also license, you can, create merchandise, do anything you want to do. Also do a trademark search, include CSR in your strategy. So brands, whether SMEs or MSMEs, that have contributed in one way or the other through CSR without expecting anything in return, have also shown um, themselves, like position themselves, made themselves more visible. So I did see a post by at Kobo Fashion where they created a match for the Soro Soke. It created shirts, and they stated that it wasn't for sale. They were giving out for free. So all of those things people consider. You also have brands, um, chefs like Adonis Kitchen, and several other persons. I know I've seen pictures where the at feminist underscore co logo was being, showcased on one of the hotels close to Lekki. Like a lot of things have been happening this period. You also get a domain name to avoid trademark squatters. Be creative in trying to connect with consumers. Build brands trust and confidence be part of the change. So again, now who support us? Now we go support at the end of this protest. So even as an unregistered mark, you can enjoy a limited protection so far as you have consistently used the mark in question. Now, phrases like hashtag NSAS, Sorosoke, which has been turned into a merch, I already stated that by at Kobo Fashion on Instagram, um, specifically not for sale. Then you also have the Sorosoke radio station aimed at sustaining the Nigerian youth revolution. So all of this now, those hashtags or short phrases can be trademarked. But in this instance now, would you say they should be commercialized or they should not be commercialized? Those are the issues that kept going through my head when I thought about it, or I kept seeing this cross my timeline. Now let's talk image rights. One of the most sensitive type of intellectual property right that sometimes goes hand in hand with rights of publicity. In an era where going viral is like a drug, it's hard for some persons to know where to draw the line with regards to consent. Now, image right generally is used for commercial purpose. However, there are instances where you feel it interferes with your right to privacy, which is guaranteed under Section 37 of the Nigerian Constitution. That becomes an issue because there was no permission sought at the end of the day. Another would be right of publicity, whereby you can control and decide how your image and identity can be commercially exploited by other people. Um, are there specific laws that protect you against right of publicity or image right? We don't have any specific law. However, there are other remedies that you can exploit, such as suing for violation of privacy, XYZ. You can also speak to your lawyer to be properly guided with regards to this. So next we're looking at terms of use or terms of service of Twitter or social media platform. And specifically we'll be focusing on their privacy clause and their intellectual property clause, what it says. So I had to do I had to take a look at the Twitter, um, terms of service. And first, under the privacy clause, it stated that you may not publish or post other people's private information such as home phone number and address without their express authorization or permission. And just like intellectual property, you need express, let me not say express, so you need permission. So consent, permission, authorization, CPA. And it's the same thing when it has to do with privacy, which is why when I was talking about image rights and right of publicity, I talked about you having um the permission to do so. Anything contrary to that is an infringement and a violation of the person's right. um and this period I did see, so I saw a couple of posts and I was like, is this right? Should they be doing this? So while calling out some bad SARS officials, people were dropping phone numbers, call and greet them. I'm like, oh my god, this is really wrong. um but a lot of people say no, so there's nothing wrong with that, like it's actually the right thing, but it's not. Under the law, that's like violation of someone's right to privacy, and you're subjecting those persons or people to cyberbullying, both online and offline, and subjecting them to harassment, which now makes you an accessory to whatever the person might decide to charge at the end of it. So while we are protesting that there should be, we've had enough of police brutality, bad governance, end SARS movement, end SWAT now, etc., etc. We should also be guided as to, how far we can go. On IP, there's the clause there states that your right or grant of right in the content, that you are identified as the owner of the owner of the content that you publish, be it audio, photos, videos. I know I did stream the Port Harcourt hashtag Port Harcourt protest on Twitter. I also shared videos on Instagram. I also did an Instagram live. I also did share pictures. So anything I share on Twitter belongs to me. However, by posting them on Twitter now, I've gone into a social contract with Twitter, giving them a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free. So you're not going to pay me a dime for sharing or letting people share my post or reshare my post. So you see, you have the comment, share, retweet, and like, favorite, and all those options that you see on Twitter. There's no commission coming your way. You've put it there, you've given them that permission, like, okay, anybody now can use it, or um they can use it, they can copy it, they can reproduce it, they can process it, they can adapt it, they can modify it, they can publish it, they can transmit it, they can distribute it, they can display it. Like the clause is so long, I'm not going to read everything, but that gives you an idea. And it begs the question, is this a good thing or a bad thing? And then questions like, okay, what am I doing online? What are those information that I'm dropping online? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? You don't have to overthink it. But then this is the digital era where they say your digital print makes you visible and also makes you vulnerable to things that you may not even imagine. So while posting, you also need to be careful and what you're posting online. Can you sue someone for taking your content posted on Twitter without your permission? Absolutely. So I know Twitter has like a 140 character limit. Um, and just like we saw in the case of Lizzo, where she took someone's tweet and turned it into a song, made it into a song, and the song became a huge success, and the actual owner of the tweet had to. So there are also decisions and argument as to whether or not the 140 character tweet can be copyrighted, but that's a story or topic for another day or time. But if you need more clarification on that, you can always send me a message at ipseriesinfo@gmail.com or a DM on at Esmeraldo99 on Twitter. You always see me there. So if a news outlet publishes your content, can you sue? Absolutely, because they need to. I know I've seen instances. I think that's more common for the foreign jurisdiction, where you see newspaper or news outlet reaching out to the original poster saying, "Can I use your work? Can I use this post? Can I do X, Y?" So that oral, permission sort can be given, but in Nigeria nobody gives. I don't want to use a swear word, but nobody really cares about obtaining permission. For as far as they're concerned, it's free for all. So there was this
So there was this makeup, this girl on Instagram at Linda something. She did this NSAS makeup that really went viral. Like people were reposting. And then when I was coming back from Lagos, by road, I saw that they had printed it out and were using it as part of the protest, and I was like, okay. So that, I think that was where the whole idea came from. What are the intellectual property rights in the protest? And can she come at more to say stop using my picture or my content, or is she happy with the fact that her makeup, entire makeup, went viral? Same thing with Aisha. She became really viral. The picture was everywhere. Everyone is using. I've used it on my DP. I know several other persons have used it on their DP, and a lot of other contents that were shared. So these are the issues that emanate when it comes to IP in the digital age. Are you entitled to any legal remedy? Yes and no. I mean, it's a bit tricky. So speak to your lawyer at the end of the day. Then make sure that you always read the terms of use or terms of service of every app that you intend to use. I know it's like, I understand. I also don't read it, but because of what I do, sometimes you just have to look at certain things and you have to ask yourself, do I really want to sign up for this, or do I not want to sign up for this? So if you can, maybe just try read the terms of service or terms of use, and then the privacy policy XYZ XYZ. So yeah. So next up is fair dealing, fair use in the digital age. So in this era where there's ease of reproduction and dissemination of information out there, what are those instances where if a content or a work is used, it won't amount to an infringement? This falls, this basically falls under the purpose, which the content was used, whether it's for commercial purpose or not for commercial purpose. So those are like the underlying things you need to consider when you're claiming that the work you use falls under fair use. Now, what are those instances? If it's for research purpose, so now in the course of my doing recording this podcast, I had to do some reading, and I found certain things. Now, that falls under fair use. Private use, just for me. I'm not showing to a third party. You're critiquing the work, you're reviewing the work, you're reporting the work as current event. Just like you see that for every tweet that goes out there, um, because of the number of hashtag NSAS tweets that went out, Jack, the owner of Twitter, had to customize the hashtag NSAS, um, you know, tweet for us. So those are the exceptions. So you're reporting current events such as the NSAS protest, the end police brutality, and SWAT, which is like the reformed version of SARS, which the federal government had previously on 4 different occasions told us we're going to do. And that also raised a lot of concerns. We also had the issues of hashtag end police brutality in Nigeria, hashtag end bad governance in Nigeria, hashtag end bad governance. And recently they are including secure the north, hashtag not boundary and the rest of it. And if it is used in public, it must be acknowledged, except where it is included in a broadcast. Now, this can be found under the second schedule of the Copyright Act. Other examples also include the work was used by way of a parody, a pastiche, or a caricature, or it was included in a film of a broadcast of an artistic work in a place where it can be viewed by the public, reproduction and distribution of copies of any artistic work where it can be viewed by the public, e.g., the various pictures, artworks being shared on social media, inclusion in a collection of literary or musical works, which includes not more than two excerpts from the work. Now you're talking about the substance. Was it much? Like how much was used um, in the work? And also designed for educational purpose will include an acknowledgement of the title and authorship. Furthermore, where it is approved for educational institutions, let's say for instance now after the NSAS protest, now it books were written, a curriculum was specially created under the history, and just to tell the real story about NSAS. Any reproduction of that work is subject to a prescribed period or before the end of a short prescribed period or before the end of 12 months after it's been made. I think that's like the shortest term of protection ever, where even though your work enjoys automatic protection, you're only subjected to 12 months after the work has been created. But yeah, that's when it's for to be used in an educational institution. Then you have broadcast rights, and under section 26 of the Copyright Act, this is also referred to as related rights or performance rights or neighboring rights, and they have exclusive rights as well. They have rights to record and broadcast live, be it radio like the Soro Soke radio station, TV programs. Now we've seen a lot of news outlets talking about the hashtag end protest. They also had Ebuka on Robin Mind, and you also have internet broadcasts such as my own podcast. Yes, I have to use my podcast as example, but moving on. Now, the term of protection is for a period of 20 years, which is calculated from the end of the year in which the work was made. Now, under the third schedule of the Copyright Act, it makes provisions for exceptions with regards to sound recording. One, no infringement will be caused by the record producer if he makes a record of the work or adaptation. CC, for instance, now it's Ade. So Ade can be accused of infringement tomorrow if he makes a record of that work or adapts the NSAS song, which he helped at Fiki Official produce. Now, if as at it's Ade gives notice to at Fiki Official, who is the copyright owner, that he has intention to use it, that's an exception. You can't sue him for infringement tomorrow. There are instances where the record producer intends to sell by retail or supply the sound recording for the purpose of it being sold by retail by another person, or he intends to use it to make other records which are to be sold or supplied. Another instance would be where the record was sold by retail. The record producer pays the copyright owner a royalty in the prescribed manner and time. Now, that covers basically what I've just talked about are the exceptions where content shared in online or in the digital age, such as Twitter or any other social media platform, will not amount to an infringement. Wrapping up right now, don't forget that while consent, permission, and authorization is key, there needs to be a balance when it comes to content creation and IP in the digital age. I mean, it's even more difficult now to keep track of um, work illegally shared online than when it was manual. Now you have to be try to catch up with the people or persons who are sharing, and then you have issues of identifying who actually triggered or started resharing your work. In the event of any intellectual property related dispute, you can opt to litigate or explore alternative dispute resolution mechanisms such as mediation, arbitration, negotiation, conciliation, um, or hybrid mechanisms. Think big with regards to IP, have long term goals, be strategic, have an IP lawyer on your team or your retainer and choose to make a difference. Again, na who follow us protest na him we go follow. So finally, if you've learned something from this podcast, I think it might be a long podcast, but if you've learned something today, don't forget to favorite my podcast. You can also follow us on any of the other distribution platforms, like Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Radio Public, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. Just search for IP series and you'll see the various platforms that is being distributed on. And also keep tweeting NSAS, end police brutality, end bad governance in Nigeria, end police brutality in Nigeria. Um, whether you're protesting online or physically, don't forget to stay safe if you're coming out to protest. If you're in Port Harcourt, we're protesting on Tuesday. Don't forget to join. If you can't make it, don't forget to keep tweet aggressively. Hashtag #EndSARS. We are here for a new Nigeria and deserve better as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next episode. Bye.